to our members afterwards, and we'll get started. So thank you so much, Carmel and Barbara, for joining us, because it's really great to have real people on our Zoom meetings that can ask real questions, and that gives us a bit of interaction. And also welcome to Sandra and Cara, who are our panel members, as well as Kelly King, our president. Leslie does send her apology, but she might be able to join later in our session, because she's always able to give us a really great update from a state government perspective as our local member. But what we might do today, a little bit different, is start with Sandra. Sandra, if you want to start by introducing yourself and then just giving us a bit of an overview of maybe what's changed in the last week and some of the things that you're working on with our members and our local community, that would be great.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Sandra McGann. I have an accounting practice in Gordon Street called Sea Change Accounting, where we help small businesses with their accounting, tax, and also cloud accounting with Xero and other applications. Jobkeeper's been keeping us very busy over the last few weeks, and last week is no exception. Busy helping clients, just working out whether they're eligible and whether they're meeting the turnover tests, and then just making sure that their systems are set up for the payroll and single touch payroll, and also the enrolments for the program opened last week with the ATO. So there's been quite a number of updates and changes over the last week. So I just wanted to really cover off on some of the important things that people need to be aware of. Importantly, the enrolment deadline of the 30th of April has been extended now to the 31st of May, which is great news. It does mean, however, that you can claim for April and May and enrol as late as the end of May. However, you still need to make sure that your employees are paid the minimum of $1,500 a fortnight for April by the 30th of April. So we still only have a 3-day window now to make sure that if you're eligible and you believe you qualify, that your employees are paid and the relevant nomination notices are sent to them.
Great.
The other big change that came out late last week was the ATO and Treasury announced some alternative tests to work out whether your turnover has declined by the relevant 30%. Up until now, we've just had a basic test, which meant you had to have a look at where your turnover is sitting this year, whether it was March, April, or projected for the quarter of ending June. And you had to compare that to the same period last time. Or last year. So there's a number of situations where businesses may not qualify using that basic test, so that they have announced some alternative tests, and I just wanted to run through those because it may mean that you might have failed the basic test, but applying the alternative test means that you may still qualify. So they've outlined 7 circumstances or scenarios where these alternate tests might apply. The first one, which is a common situation where the business has commenced sometime within the last 12 months, so before the 1st of March, but after the comparison period for last year. So if you're comparing March, if you've started your business after March, there's no relevant comparison period. So you need an alternate test to use. So that's the first one. The second one is business acquisition or disposal, where there's been some large changes there. And thirdly, business restructure. If you've restructured your business in a significant way, there's alternate tests there. The fourth one's another common one that we've been applying to businesses. So businesses that have had substantial turnover over the last 12 months, 6 months, or 3 months would find that if they're comparing their turnover now to the same period last year, they haven't had the necessary decline. But if you compare it to more recent figures, then they have attained that 30% drop. So there's some other tests that you can apply there. Businesses that have been affected by drought or natural disaster, obviously the comparable period for the same time last year is not a good measure to work out whether your turnover has been affected by COVID. Businesses that have irregular turnover. So that's where it's really hard just to measure to the same period last year. So it doesn't apply to those businesses with cyclical turnover, such as a ski resort where it's typically their turnover's in a certain time of the year. But if you do have a regular turnover, there are other tests that you can use. And the last one is in the situation with a sole trader or a small partnership with sickness, injury or leave. So there's other tests that you can apply there. And some of those tests are looking at the same period a year earlier, averaging your monthly GST turnover, using current GST turnover, although turnover for the last 3 months. So depending on what situation applies to you, will determine what test you use. And there's a lot of information on the ATO website about what these tests are and how you apply them.
Great.
There was also some late changes or announcements that came through from the Treasurer on Friday night, clarifying some of the rules around Jobkeeper. Importantly, the one that did come out was that 16 and 17-year-olds now, unless they're financially independent, won't be covered by Jobkeeper. It's not retrospective, so that if you've got a situation with businesses where they may have paid a 16 or 17-year-old who is not financially independent for April, they will be covered, but from May onwards, they're not covered anymore. And then there was clarity around the one in, all in rule, which determines that if a business is eligible, they must include all eligible employees that were on the books at the 1st of March.
Or as you were saying, Sandra, offer it to all employees.
Offer it, yes, yes. So they have to send the nomination notice to them. The employee may decline to be part of it. They may be obtaining Jobkeeper from elsewhere or not want to go on the program, but it has to be offered to all eligible employees.
Great.
And then there was another announcement that the Big Four banks have released hotlines for businesses that need to obtain finance. So that's really just to speed up that funding and that loan process for the businesses. So I just wanted to quickly cover off on resources that are available as well for any businesses or people wanting to find out more. The ATO is a great source. There's lots of information there for employees, employers, sole traders and other business entities on whether they're eligible, how to apply and and steps you right through the process. Xero have some good tools on their platform as well in the payroll area. So it really just steps you through that process. They've got lots of links there. And they've also got a handy turnover calculator now, so that you can put in whether it's March or April that you want to choose and cash or accruals basis, and it will let you know whether you've met that 30% requirement. And we've also got some resources on our website as well, where we've put together links to Treasury fact sheets and also the Jobkeeper information for employees. So that's on seechangeaccounting.com.au, and there's a little pop-up as soon as you enter the website to direct you to that page. And lastly, I just wanted to cover off on the important deadlines. So the enrolments, as I mentioned, are open until the 31st of May to claim for April and May. However, you must pay employees by the 30th of April for the month of April, or for the 2 fortnights that fall into April. The nomination forms you need to get those back by the 30th of April. And then from the 4th of May, you can start applying for payments for the April period.
And Sandra, the nominations forms just need to be retained, don't they?
That's right. They don't need to be submitted to the ATO, but you need to make sure that you have those on. Yes.
Great. Great. That's such a good update. I appreciate that you're doing all the navigating of all the deadlines and the tests and everything on our behalf. So that's That's awesome. And it also sounds like the message that Cara keeps giving us, which is don't exclude yourself, don't rule yourself out, is truer than ever, because there's new tests and alternate tests coming in. So it's really important for us all to keep updated. So I appreciate you doing that for us and explaining it in terms that we can understand. So thanks very much for that. It's a good time to go to you, Cara, and see what you can add to that, because I know that the work that you've been doing is very broad. So can you give us a bit of an overview of what you do? Introduce yourself in case there's some new viewers, but also give us an overview of the types of things you've been doing to help people.
Sure, thank you, Kaylee. So my name's Cara Dale. I'm the Director of C2 Hills Consultancy at Lake Cat. And our business has been around for a little bit over 7 years. And what we do is make the big wheel of government work with the reality of small businesses and sharing that knowledge. So our first step is we need to share knowledge. And the government has numerous programs available, and you know, they're across 13 different websites. There's ones that you need to prioritise because there's key deadlines. And then there's others that I would call second and third tier, that as part of your recovery plan or assessment of how your business will recover from COVID-19, there are numerous other packages and opportunities available with the state and federal government. What we've been doing with a lot of local businesses has been helping them navigate through either the bushfire funding that's currently available, particularly if they're not, they're just slightly outside the box. The other thing we've been doing is advocating internally with Service New South Wales and in relation to some issues that some people have had with their ABNs when they've tried to self-apply. Now, we've been advised late last week, I think it was Friday, that they've updated the system. So what we were getting was feedback that for COVID-19 funding of the $10,000 working capital, if your ABN was set up you might have had that ABN for 10 or 15 years, and this is the second business you're running on that ABN, it may have been picking up a previous industry and therefore not allowing you to complete the application, like a non-eligible industry. So if you've tried and it's come up that you're ineligible previously, maybe try again. And if you still have issues where the system is saying that you're not eligible, please feel free to give our office a call and we can have a look at what options you have available. But primarily what we've been doing is helping a lot of special consideration. People that the government has tried to create a broad brush to encompass as many businesses as possible. However, there's going to be businesses outside that box that needs financial support, and we've been working through those particular businesses. So really, you know, the first priority is always never self-exclude. So always look at what the changes are, and there's been changes late Friday with Jobkeepers plus the ABN through Service New South Wales. And then start to have a look at what other opportunities, like there's support for commercial tenancy, there's support for businesses and electricity, there's support for businesses with their licensing. There's also, you know, the bushfire recovery concessional loans are a good tool as part of your long-term strategy. The banks late last week, as Sandra highlighted, have created call centres specifically to deal with cash flow lending for job keepers, because one of the biggest concern is a lot of people didn't have the cash to be eligible to, because you've got to pay it up front to get it back in arrears. So that's also a good thing that's happening, and it's evolving daily. And in the next couple of weeks, the state government has announced well over $140 million to help a number of key industries rebuild, and there'll be further funding announcements. So while you might not be in the first wave, there'll be additional support coming through, and it's changing, as I said, on a daily basis.
Great. Thanks so much, Cara. What we might do is pause for a moment now and just go to our members and see what questions this has brought up for you. You can either just raise your hand, because there's 3 of you there plus Kelly, or you can send me a question in the chat box. You can either send it publicly or privately, because I'm just keen to hear what questions you've got regarding the information or information that we haven't yet provided. So happy to start with you, Carmel. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thanks, Kate. That's really informative, and it's really nice to have a source of information that's so succinct, and yeah, no, that's really good. So thank you very much for
No
that.
problem. Thank you. And I agree. Like there's so much to navigate, and it feels like we're really lucky to have Sandra and Cara navigate that for us and break it down into terms that even I can understand. What about you, Barb? I saw your pencil go in the air. I didn't think you'd be able to resist the temptation to ask a question.
Yes, absolutely. Just for myself, but some of my business colleagues, if you've a sole trader, have an ABN but not pay GST, that would be the Jobkeeper. And is there anything else that one has to do to prove their loss of income?
So what they look to, Barb, is for established businesses that you have lodged your 19 tax return, 2019. So first of all, they were looking to make sure that that had been lodged by the 12th of March. That was the first measure. However, a lot of businesses and sole traders are on a lodgement program with their tax agents. So they actually have longer to lodge. They don't have to lodge generally until the 15th of May. So they have allowed discretion where businesses are under such arrangement, where they're under a lodgement program and they're not required to lodge yet, that they can still apply in that situation.
And
again, Barb?
Sorry, and somebody would only know on the 1st of May if money then did hit their bank account. Like, because all of us are all getting little messages saying thank you for Jobkeeper and registering and whatever, but nothing else is, of course, coming through. So really, until you see that that money in your account, you don't really know that you've been successful.
There is an enrolment process, Barb. So what the ATO did a few weeks ago was open up that link on their website where there was an expression of interest. So that was really just to register to say you're interested in receiving updates from them. That's not enrolling, and that's not an application to claim the payment. So they still need to go through the process through the business portal using a MyGov ID and actually enrol in the program. And then after the 4th of May, you have to go in and apply for the payment. So there's a couple of steps in the process.
Oh, that's good. That's great extra info, not just for ourselves, but other people, because we've all registered. Yeah, we've taken like an 80–90% drop in the income. And we've done the registration and had the email back and so forth. So, but there's another step on the 4th of May.
Yes, you have to go in and apply.
And go in, not physically, but online?
Online through the business portal.
Business portal. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
So you're clear on that, Barb, that you still need to enrol. So you've registered, you need to enrol on the business portal. Then, as Sandra said, apply after the 4th of May.
Yes, and we've done all that, and quite a lot of my colleagues have done that too. So that's great.
Yeah.
Great. It's great that you brought up sole traders as well, Barb. So I might just see if Cara's got anything to add, because I know she's done a lot of work with sole traders. Cara, do you have anything?
That would be good, Cara, because originally there was information, but nothing definite, I think, until last Monday, something like that, or the week before.
Yeah, so there's sole traders, there's two parts. You can be sole trader GST registered or sole trader non-GST registered. Now, in relation to the bushfire $10,000, whether you would be primarily, unless you've had infrastructure burnt, you'd be deemed an indirect affected business, and those guidelines changed in February. So if you're a sole trader and GST registered, you may meet the guidelines and you may be able to self-apply. However, if you're a sole trader and not GST registered, you need to go through special consideration, and special consideration involves you need to get a certain letter from your accountant, you need to complete a declaration from the ATO around your income, and then you basically manually apply through Service New South Wales, and then they consider the circumstances of what either the bushfires or COVID-19 has done. So by being a sole trader and not GST registered, you're not necessarily excluded. However, you can't go down the common road. You have to go through a slightly different way to approach it. You need to get some other supporting documentation as well. But, you know, Barb, we can always talk offline if you want to know the specifics of what it would mean to your business. But yeah, so as a holistic approach, it can, there is a scope available for you, and that's 10,000 for bushfires or 10,000 for COVID-19.
Great. Anything else from your point of view, Sandra?
Oh, yes, I just wanted to mention that there are ongoing reporting requirements as well, Barb, that you might need to be aware of. So after the 4th of May, that's the application to apply for the payment for April, and then ongoing. So from the 7th of June onwards, you need to report to the ATO your current turnover and your projected turnover.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an ongoing requirement to actually receive the payments.
And that all seems very fair, because I'm sure, you know, there's going to be some crooked people out there who'll try and rort the system, whatever it is. So it's good to be able to know that we've got to do the right thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But one of the things that Sandra's been saying quite a lot, Barb, which is great, is that they are trying to keep it simple.
Yes.
Because if they tie us up in knots, then, you know, it's not helping us. You know, there's enough to be stressed about. But, you know, having said that, Sandra's done a great job of explaining all the different tests and alternate tests. And so, yeah, there's a lot to navigate, but hopefully you're reassured that there's lots of people to help you as well as all the other people who are watching. So I'm just mindful that we've been joined by Marissa. So welcome. I can see you. Great.
Hi there. Sorry.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. We've had an update and a few questions already, Marissa, but we might just check in and see if you've got anything specific that you want to ask any of us, Cara, Sandra, myself.
Yeah, no worries. Look, I guess I was just keen. I did see the first panel that you ran, which was really, really good. And we are referring people to the different business networks. So I was quite keen just to jump in to see what this forum was discussing. And I'm sorry I joined late, but from what I've heard, it sounds pretty useful in terms of getting down to the nitty gritty. So it's kind of nice for us to understand if we're referring people, they're going to get some really nice help. So thank you for that. Yeah,
that's okay. Thank you. We've made the commitment to run these sessions every Monday, and then we also record them for people that can't join. We're usually joined by Leslie Williams, which is wonderful because we get a good state government update from our local member. And Cara and Sandra have been joining us as well to answer more specific questions for our members and our local community business owners. So I'll just check in and see if there are any other questions from Carmel or Barb or Danielle, and also Kelly, who's also joined us by audio. So has anyone got any questions for the panel? No? That was a very definite silence. So what I might do is just go to you first, Cara, and then Sandra, to see if you've got any final words before we let everyone go and enjoy their Monday.
Sure. I guess if you're looking at what should I do this week to help my business and ensure that I recover, there's a couple of steps. The first priority from a deadline perspective is to speak with your accountant and make sure you understand the Jobkeepers and the changes and the introduction of the alternative test that came in late Friday. And if so, focus on getting that paperwork completed before probably Wednesday lunchtime. So that's step one. I always like to just have 3 little actions. The other one is to look at your bushfire and the impact as an indirect affected business. And that's any business that has had a decline or an impact because of the smoke and the conditions and the road closures. And then the third is where COVID-19, there's the working capital grant, and that's only available until the 1st of June. And then finally, which is, you know, we need to then start to look at all the other alternatives, because there's well over 35 financial opportunities for businesses, but we need to prioritise our energies in the first 3, so Jobkeepers, bushfire, and then COVID.
Great. Thank you so much, Cara. And Sandra?
Oh, look, I agree with Cara. I think she's covered off in terms of Jobkeeper, the steps that are needed, but if anybody is uncertain or unsure whether they meet the requirements or have any questions, just to reach out, talk to your accountant or your advisor, and then have a look also online at some of the information and the resources that are available.
Great. Thank you so much, Sandra. Okay, well, on that note, we might let everyone go. Just to remind you that this is recorded. So, Marissa, if you want to see the beginning bit, then it'll hopefully be on our website by the end of the day. Kelly, on behalf of Kelly and I just want to thank you for joining in as guests, because it makes it much more interactive and fun if you're able to ask questions and ask questions on behalf of other people that you know, by all means, like Barb did, because it just helps us to keep the information relevant and spread the word. We're certainly not limiting these sessions just to our HBWN members. We're here to help, and we are going to continue to run them on Mondays, and we'll have Leslie back again next Monday. That was totally our fault that she isn't here, because we threw things into a bit of a confusion last week when we weren't sure about public holidays and all sorts of things. So Leslie's committed to give us an update every week, and Cara and Sandra are joining us from a practical perspective as well. Any questions can be sent through in advance, or you are very welcome to ask questions on the go, because our panel are very able to answer those questions. And if you did ask us something we didn't know the answer to, we would definitely take it on notice and be able to get back to you. So on that note, on behalf of Kelly and I, thank you again to Sandra and Cara for giving up your valuable time and for helping us navigate all the complexities. And thanks again for our members who have joined us this morning. Have a lovely week. So I'm just going to stop the recording now.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I am